Hey guys, welcome to Moving Forward. Today we're going to talk about passion,
what drives you,
and following your heart.
Stay tuned. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Moving Forward. I'm Kayla Garza, a community manager here at PayPro Media.
I'm Leilani Squires, the director of content.
and I'm Ashley Mazelin, a content specialist.
We want to welcome Ashley today. She's joining us for our special episode of Passion, What Drives You, and Following Your Heart.
All right, so the first article we're talking about is the 7 Desires That Drive Us. It's put out by LinkedIn and written by Naomi Simpson. We're only going to look at 3 today because those are the ones that stood out to me most. There's the desire for my place, the desire to connect, and the desire to feel useful. So with the desire for my place, she says, we all need places that feel like ours, places that symbolize who we are. This is why, for some people, hot desks and open plan offices create a certain amount of disconnect and dissatisfaction at work. So I was just wondering, when you are focusing on your passion, how does having a place play into that for each of you?
You want to go ahead?
Sure. Well, I think it helps you to, first of all, just put everything that's distracting you out of focus, or just kind of shut everything else out and remember kind of who you are and why you're passionate about certain things. Like for me, I like to be outside. My favorite place ever is like on top of a mountain, just looking out at really pretty scenery, and it just reminds me of like how the big picture of life, and I don't know, it makes you think about just in general, like, why do I do the things I do? Why do I do the things I'm passionate about? And it's so quiet up there, and you can only just hear like the wind and the birds. And
so you're just there with your thoughts.
Right.
Alone.
Yeah. And you don't have all the million distractions and people that you normally have. I don't know.
Yeah. So do you use that to kind of center yourself, you think, or?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
So because obviously you can't work on the mountaintop, so how do you bring
Right.
that experience to your office that you come to every day?
That's a great question. Well, my office, I do like to have it bright and fun and colorful and remind me of things that are like outside. Like we've decorated our office like a beach theme. And so like even in the winter when it's so cold out and dreary, you still feel kind of like, yes, summer, alive, you know.
At least in my office.
Yeah, right. So just like reminding myself of those things throughout the day, or I don't know.
Yeah. And it's been really cool to watch you and your office mate work because you guys have fun music going on. You have fun pens.
Oh yeah.
There's all kinds of color, all kinds of fun going on at your desk. It's very lively. And so you can definitely tell that you were bringing that passion for life that you were very characteristic of having.
And I think you can really tell when you see offices that have the cubicles where it's very much standardized and it's not personalized at all. It's like it's a sad, like dreary feeling. So when you have offices that we have where as a reflection of our personalities more, it's really uplifting for everyone. So I can definitely agree with having a place to call your own.
Yeah, I also agree that having a place also means that you're having your reminders, and it's whether it be photos of why you're at that job or what you're working towards or whatever, some sort of those little reminders, those mementos of this is what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So
a lot of people around here too, I noticed, have quotes on there around the computer somewhere. We have them on the windows. So that's another thing that goes along with that too.
So whatever it takes to kind of make your space your own, try to figure out what will help you focus in on your passion so that you're living it day to day. The next one is the desire to connect. Not only do we feel connected to people around us at work through everyday interactions, we also use work to connect deeper to ourselves. For some people, the work is an expression of their self. So how do you connect with others to share your passion? Especially in the workplace, because that can be a little, I mean, it's different when you're going out and hanging out with friends.
Right.
It's very different to come into the office and say, well, I'm really passionate about this. Let's work on this.
Yeah.
Well, one cool thing about working with people that have the same job as you, a lot of times you automatically have the same sort of passions. Like for us as a writers team, we all are passionate about writing, maybe about writing different things, but we have the same common ground. So it's an automatic conversation starter of this is what I like to write and what do you like to write, or it automatically puts you in a place where you can like know that we all have the same exact thing that
Right,
we like to
same
do.
goals.
Yeah.
Right.
The other thing I do is like different pages on Facebook, and that really allows me to stay ahead and see what they post and see if I can relate to it. So that
those
I
little
would say,
reminders throughout the day.
That's how
really
I get my passion connected with other people, and harnessing the power of social media and the internet and stuff like that.
That would be good. Do you find it harder to communicate your passion in the workplace than when you're out and about in a social life?
For me, a little bit, just because I have so many passions that don't necessarily fall under this category of this job. So not necessarily hard, but it's a different place, time and a different place for each thing that I have going on.
Right.
So.
So true. And that's another thing about passions is that it's not always just, typically it's not just one. Sometimes there are others that play into that main one, but there are different passions for different people.
Right.
And some are very different, and some can be a lot of variety.
Yeah.
You can enjoy cooking and snowboarding. I mean,
Right.
they're very much
Good
different.
examples, yeah.
So, but that's great, and that's okay. This makes you a more well-rounded person.
Yep.
So embracing all of those at the same time is rather challenging sometimes, of course, but it can also work out.
Necessary.
Yes. The next question: is your work an expression of your passion?
I would say definitely you guys, for sure, with your writing and
Yeah, one of my passions is just truth in general, and that's the cool thing about writing is that it gives you an opportunity to present truth. That's why I was a journalism major, is because I really care about helping people to see what's really going on in the world, and a lot of times the media is not very good at that. And so that's one thing that I love about my job, is that I get a chance to do research and find truth and make it obvious to people. So that's one passion that for sure I get in my job. But like you were saying, I have a lot of passions. I'm a very passionate person, so they're not all in this job, but yeah.
So I'm still in the process of trying to name and pinpoint all of my passions. I'm in that transition mode. I would say I'm passionate about like organizing and structuring and planning, which I didn't used to think would be considered a passion, but when I go home, I like to organize and I like to plan things, and so that really does correlate with my job here, because a lot of what I do is constant planning, organizing, details, and
very much
multitasking. So yeah, I think it definitely, I'm able to live out my passions here.
So great. I think I would feel the same way. I never expected to work at a marketing agency.
Yeah.
I was one of those. I was going to work at a book publisher or a magazine or something.
I never
like
thought
that.
about that.
But then it's a whole new world kind of opening to me through this, and the type of writing and the variety of writing. Because with me, I just love writing, period. Whether it's a press release or a blog or an article or whatever it is, it's just whatever I can do to play with words, let me at it. So I get lots of opportunities to do that here, and it's been really cool to see that passion grow that I didn't quite know was there.
Yeah.
And then to see that come and be satisfied.
And I think everyone that works here really gets that the content team is really passionate about writing. And it's funny because we'll say, I don't know how they do it, but it's like, we know that you love what you do, and we just have a lot of praise for you guys and a lot of respect.
We sometimes wonder if we're scaring everybody out because of our discussions about should we use a hyphen here or
the Oxford comma.
That's right.
No, it's
all those details.
Yeah.
The next topic is the desire to feel useful. And it definitely plays into our passion. And she says, the one thing we least want to hear ourselves described as is useless. Wanting to be useful is fundamental to being part of society. This is the reason that people pull together in times of disaster to help complete strangers, to feel they are doing something useful. What are your thoughts on this?
I definitely agree. I think if someone, me personally, if I don't feel like what I'm doing is useful or I don't feel valued, I can easily, go downhill. So I can definitely see how that would be a huge factor, huge motivating passion.
I think that's why it's so important to hold on to the big picture and not get caught up in like the little everyday is what I'm doing mattering, but the big picture of yes, what I'm doing is mattering, and remembering like the reason why you're doing it in the first place, even if you maybe don't feel like it or don't feel like people are complimenting you or whatever, just remembering why you started it, going back to like those root reasons, and then maybe it would require like trying something new and saying, well, this isn't really making as big of a difference as I want, so I'm gonna add something new, or I'm gonna
shake things up.
Yeah. So I don't know that it's always bad to feel that way, because sometimes that pushes you to make it better.
That's true. Yeah, good point.
Sometimes you'll get to a certain level, and then you'll need to, and then you start to feel like, okay, I've plateaued, and so to add something new to that passion, to grow on to the next level. I agree.
So the whole reason that I wanted to do this topic today is because I came across a really interesting article on Positively Positive, and it really sparked a lot of good questions in me, and then just us talking through this, we decided that it is something that it's worth addressing. And it's basically just, what is your passion? What drives you? What helps you stay motivated in the morning or throughout the day, and having that big picture? So I'll just go ahead and start with you, Leilani. What is your passion?
Oh, too many. I say when it comes to the workplace, my passion is to be equipping something, someone, somehow. When I've been teaching, I've loved the fact that I could bring up the next generation of writers. When I've been working at other places, I was doing something to help something grow beyond what it was. And so coming here to Paper Media, it was not only do I get to do my love of writing and editing all day long, but I also get to encourage my team. I get to help bring them up to the next level. We get to grow together. They challenge me as much as I challenge them, I hope.
Right.
But it's really cool to see how we are able to work together as a team to make something better, and with Salcha to be able to offer something of great value to small businesses and entrepreneurs.
Right.
So hopefully that encouragement and that passion is coming through.
And I know that your mom, I've worked with her mom as one of our clients. I know that she's very passionate about motivating people and helping people figure out their passion. Do you feel like that is a result of how your mom is? Kind of rubbed off on you a little bit, or?
She always encouraged us to try new things.
Yeah.
So if we ever wanted to try a new instrument, she found a way to let us try it. If there was a new field trip or some sort of experience when we were trying to figure out what we wanted to be when we grew up.
Yeah.
Like one of my sisters really wanted to be an emergency room doctor, and so she allowed her to, or found a way for her to shadow for a shift. And she realized it wasn't quite what she wanted to do.
Quickly now.
Yes, but there's a great benefit in that too. So she was very much an encourager of our dreams. You know, what did we want to do, and what do we want to try next?
Yeah.
So I think that has rubbed off on me somewhat, and it's really cool to see how we continue to do that as a family.
Yeah. And I think the more parents allow their kids to explore their dreams, their passions, what they like to do, rather than just having them focus on the subjects that they need to cover in school. I think if they allow them to harness their creativity in other ways, they could really, bring their whole self to.
Yeah, definitely. The world, so. And there's so many ways of doing that without taking away anything from your education.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How about you? What's your passion?
Well, as I was thinking about this I was really struggling, because I really do have a lot of passions, and I care deeply about a lot of things, and I enjoy doing a lot of things. So I was wondering, like, what exactly are the things I'm most passionate about? And I thought back to an article that I was writing for a school paper in college, and it talked about how passion and suffering actually came from the same root word.
Really?
Yeah.
And so interesting.
And so the things that you're passionate about are things that you would be willing to suffer for, things that you care about to that level. So that helped me to narrow it down a lot.
Definitely.
And I think the top three things that I'm passionate about are my faith in Jesus, justice, and truth. And a lot of things fall under those categories.
Yes.
Like, for instance, with justice, I'm really passionate about, like, human trafficking and things like that.
Yeah.
But those are probably the top ones.
Those are great. Yeah. What a great article for our listeners to be able to find and think of passions in that way, as if would you be able to suffer, or however you say it, through that to keep that passion alive. Mine, I agree with the same sort of general idea that you had. I'm still figuring out my passions, but I think helping other people, and actually I've noticed lately that I'm very passionate about, like, children's health, and kind of like in the educational system, like they're not, I mean, they're kids, so they have to kind of eat whatever is placed in front of them. And so it's just really sad to me that a lot of children are getting very bad nutrition and they don't have any other choice. So definitely tapping into that and seeing more what I could do with that is a passion of mine. And I'm the same. I'm very multifaceted. I have a lot of different passions, but that's one that I think I really want to try and focus on this year. So
Very cool.
yeah. So when did you first recognize what your passion is? Because I think a lot of people, they do struggle with figuring out what their passions are and what questions you ask yourself to be able to figure that out.
I'm gonna go back to my mom. I was very surprised when I got to school or got to college, how many people in my classes didn't really know what they wanted to do. And by that time, I was so sure that this is what I was going to study and this is how I was going to do it. And I had my life plan. Didn't quite work out that way, but I was so ready for that next step, and I was so ready to get into that field. So I think it does go back to realizing. I really appreciate how much my mom influenced that at such an early age. And I think for me, I started to realize more of a goal of what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it in my mid to late teens. There was other passions, of course, before then, but for lifelong, this is what I want to do. It was about my mid-teens.
It started to become more clear to you then. Cool.
I think the same thing kind of for me too. My passions definitely became more evident to me as I was became a teen and started to really think about like what really makes me like upset, what really makes me feel something deeply, what do I want my life to be about, like, 50 years from now when I look back, will I want to say my life accomplished this and this, or I'm just gonna be coasting. I would kind of
that's me.
But then when I went to college, I went to a conference for college students, actually called Passion, and it's a place where 60,000 college students come and fill the Atlanta Dome for like 4 days, and the theme was slavery and human trafficking, and that's when I think I realized how much I really cared about justice, especially, and the fact that most people in America don't know about the reality of human trafficking. I realized like, I just want people to know the truth, and I think that was like a major catalyst in that aspect.
What do you do now that you know what your passion is with that? How have you gotten involved?
Well, right after that conference, I came back to my campus and I actually started a club on campus, and I got involved with an Indiana task force against human trafficking with the Attorney General's office.
Wow.
It was really cool, and I got to actually meet the governor, and I got a petition signed by lots of students, and we sent it in, and because they were in the process of changing one of the state laws, and so just as like a reinforcement, I got like 500 signatures, and we sent it, and the law ended up getting changed. And
good.
Yeah, so I was able to do that. Since I've graduated, I haven't really been able to keep up with that as much. But yeah,
you can keep it as a higher goal in the future. Yeah. Do you guys ever feel like you're losing your passion or you're losing sight of your passion? And what do you do if you feel that way? Like, how do you ground yourself to come back to what you are passionate about?
I mean, sometimes I think it's easy to lose sight of the end goal and to feel like, I haven't really done anything with that in a while, so I must be losing it or something. But I think whenever that happens, that's a good thing, because it brings you back to, I really do still care about that, and I really do want to still try to do something. But I think it's also important to remember that passions can change, and that's not bad. Like as you grow and as you experience more things and as you meet new people, your experiences make you passionate about different things. And so I don't think it's necessarily bad to have passions that evolve into something else.
That may dwindle out, but then you figure out from there where you want to go with it.
And I usually see that in the application. So it might be that you are passionate about truth and justice, but how that is acted out day to day, or however application, it may change. So it may be sex trafficking, it may be then something else. And that's okay. It's amazing though to see that your overall passion will probably stay the same, or it will have something added to it, just a slight different angle to looking at it in a different way. There have been dry times, definitely, with my passions. I think there gets to be a point where you're like, I've done it, especially in a creativity type of environment, or passion where it's like, I've just given so much, I don't have much more to give.
Right.
Deadlines start to overwhelm. There's just too much to do. You've
Busy
said yes instead of no.
Yeah.
So there have been times where it feels harder, and I don't think I've lost it. I still do it. I still enjoy doing it, but it feels harder to accomplish that. And so sometimes it's just, especially for a creative type, to kind of take a bit of a break, kind of regroup, replenish that creativity pool, and then jump back in again. Yeah. And it's okay that for your passion, you kind of sit back a little bit every so often. Everybody's going to need rest from time to time.
Right.
So.
And adding to what you said, I think people kind of forget that the whole human experience is to figure out your passions, and it's going to change. And for you to just, we keep evolving, we keep changing. So the idea is to just embrace it and don't fight it. And the more that you do embrace it, the more that you're going to be able to live it out. So I think that's a great point. And then, so we talked about how do you get it back. How do you feel like you invest time and energy into your passions? And I know you talked a little bit about it, but a lot of our viewers, I think, probably want to know, like, step by step, like, what can you do to invest a little bit of time or energy into it?
This is something that I saw in the article that you were bringing to the table before, was that she did say, what would it be like if people actually took the time to invest in their passions? And how would that change the world? And I thought that was a really good point.
I think so too.
But with putting it as a day-to-day activity, I think you'll start to realize, and that's one way of finding your passion, is that you will do it on a day-to-day basis. Or people will start to compliment on this area that you do really, really well. Yeah. And you're like, well, it's just been kind of one of those things that I do really well.
Like,
yeah, exactly. But sometimes it's that you find time every day or regularly to do this. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's recognizing, okay, every day I find a time to do an organizing project, or
because if it feels forced, then it's probably not your passion. So,
or it's something that needs to be tweaked.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and also I think surrounding yourself with people who do have the same passion as you.
Very good point.
Like, for instance, if you're going to go work out, you can only go so long before you just quit. Like, unless you have somebody to hold you accountable.
Yes.
It's the same thing with anything else, I think. Like, being around other writers makes you a better writer.
Being in a group.
That right. Or even just having someone to talk to about, like, hey, did you see what's happening in this, with this latest, I don't know, industry, whatever you're passionate about. Yeah, right. Yeah. So I think that is also really important. It keeps you going, keeps your interest sparked.
Yeah. That goes back to the wanting to be connected.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, Leilani, I think that's a great point, what you said about it's going to come natural to you. And that's another good point about how to find your passion is figure out what you're doing when you're bored, or when, say you have a weekend where you don't really have a whole lot going on. What do you do for fun? What do you do just for you?
And what makes your heart go, yes, let's do it again.
Let's do that. So that's awesome. And what excuses do you maybe tell yourself sometimes that you have to overcome?
I'm too busy. I don't have time.
I'm too tired.
Yeah.
Something I hear a lot is, oh, it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's not really important.
Yeah.
When I'm looking at it going, yeah, it could really be a great addition.
If you care about it, then it's important. I think an excuse I would probably have told myself in the past is, that's not a passion, because a passion is something more creative.
Oh,
like
interesting.
Painting or music or writing, and now I've come to terms like, hey, I care about that, so that is my passion.
Right. So. Or another one could even be like, I can't really do anything. Like for instance, with the human trafficking thing, that was one thing I kind of struggled with at first, was like, I shouldn't take any initiative because why would they listen to me, or like, what can I do? But by the time you take the first step, then the next step comes, and the next step, and before you know it, you look back and you've actually accomplished something. Yeah.
We all can definitely, it sounds so cliche, we all can make a difference though.
Yeah. But that is a huge excuse for a lot of people, is what could I really do? And just take that first step and see what happens.
Definitely. So hopefully you guys got a lot of good tips today and really understand the importance of following your passion and really having that drive to keep you going forward with your life.
So the question we want to know, or at least I want to know, is what is your passion?
And my question for you is, what excuses are you overcoming to see your passion through?
And how do you live it out through your day-to-day life? What do you do? What steps do you take every day to make sure that you're following your passion? So those are the 3 questions that we want you guys to think about. And you can either comment below or you can always tweet me. I'm at Thought Kebabs.
You can tweet me at Leilani SQ.
Or you can comment on Salsa's blog.
We'll see you guys next week.